Hello and welcome to How Implementing Security First Culture Helps to Keep Companies Secure webinar hosted by NordPass. My name is Marius and I am CTO of NordVPN, one of the products here at NordSec. And today I have an honor to be joined by Balys Kriščiūnas, CTO at Hostinger, and Lorna Barnhart, System Integration Manager and Nacero.
Nice.
So introducing Balys, he is passionate about programming, data, math, and practical science applications. Engineer at heart, that's really cool to see, working in IT and web industry for more than 15 years. Started as a dev with Microsoft Stack, C# and MS SQL. Then afterwards dove deep inside the Linux OS. I love Linux myself. That's really nice. And never really got out. Helped small clients and Fortune 500 companies on their IT architecture, system security, and data solutions like Hadoop and MongoDB. He is an early member of the Hostinger. Started when it was just 4 people there. At the time, he was more jack of all trades. But later moved through sysadmin manager, head of engineer, CEO, and currently he is CTO. Quite a career. Seen company through good, the growth, and worse, hacks times. That's, I think, really interesting experience.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah, and true value of security and proactive measures the person have. So he's always happy to meet geeks and talk about how to make the world better and safer place for everyone, like me. And he's an avid Hacker News browser hacker and never-ending quest for good blogs of true engineers. So if you have some links, send him to him directly.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep, and introducing Lorna Bernhardt. She is the System Integration Manager for Nacero, where she evaluates, implements, and manages most software for the company. She has 35 years of experience managing global engineering design systems and document management teams of system specialists. She has implemented integrating systems to better utilize engineering and business data on large-scale EPCM projects. That's, I think, a really interesting part of her career too. And she's an alumnus of New Mexico State University, where she obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering Technology. Hi, Lorna.
Hi.
Hi.
And a little bit about myself. I come from the technical background too, with a passion for computer networks especially, and systems, computer systems, of course. My fascination with cybersecurity began when I watched the movie Hackers. I think you know it, from '95 for the first time. So not long after that, I discovered the House Computer Club, RC channels, FRAC designs, BCD operating systems, and other hacker-related things in general. And it was quite a culture at the time. It was very popular in my teen years, and naturally I got sucked in. Nowadays, I lead several technical teams here at NordVPN and have the opportunity to be closely involved within the all cybersec affairs within the organization. So that's a really interesting part too. I want to remind you guys that throughout the session, you can ask questions by adding them to the question box. And we're going to have some time, like 15-20 minutes at the end to answer them. So feel free to ask anything that is concerning you about cybersecurity and your business. And we're going to do the best to try to answer them if we have experience in that area. Another important thing, as a webinar guest, you are getting an exclusive deal when purchasing NordPass Business. So simply quote security first. As you can see it on my background, when getting your plan, and you will receive a personal premium plan for free for all your team members. So before jumping into discussions, I would like to say that we're going to have like 3 parts of it. First, we're going to talk about the security first culture and more about the people side of it, why it is important and how we are developing our people. And I really like to know and hear the experience from Lorna and Balys with that. The second little part is going to be about the changing environment within the COVID-19 situation that we have, and more and more approaching a hybrid model that people more are working between the home and office, or maybe only from home. And the third one is about the technical stacks that we are using, the good and only secure software development lifecycle, and how we are approaching it and what we're doing with that. So without further ado, I would like to ask first Lorna about the importance of security first culture, and why you have started implementing it, and the mindset within the company and how it is going for you.
Yeah, so to me, for our company with Nicero, our most important asset right now is our data. So securing that data wherever it is, because we have several cloud solutions, and so we have to maintain that. So it really has to start from the applications themselves, and how will they be introduced into the company, and how will the users use it. So it's it really has to start from the very, very beginning. And we're a fairly new company, so we started with that mindset off the bat. So it's not something we have to introduce later on. It's something we grew with. So
wow, that's kind of a success story, to be honest, to hear, because usually if you are doing a startup with 4 or 3 people in the basement, you're not gonna think about security. You don't have the money for it. So wow, I'm really surprised to hear that. Okay, Balis, maybe you have some.
So I wanted just to continue on what Lorna said. We are exactly the opposite in the beginning. We were basically the guys who were trying to hustle something and to make it work and to offer it to the world. So Hostinger started as a free web hosting company. And at the time, it was basically just give something to the users, get the traffic, and see what we can do with the traffic afterwards. Obviously, growing to 1,000 people in these years has shown that security has to be implemented in all of the stack areas, starting from the servers, the technical implementations of applications. We're in a similar business offering cloud solutions, hosting solutions, emails, everything, etc. So the value is in the data, and the value is in the confidence of the customer. So I think we've learned from our own mistakes more rather than from the industry standards.
Okay.
So but I think when you learn it like that, you are really, really attentive to detail, and you understand the importance of proactive measures and education of people, and especially when you have more people, and when you're just 20, 30 guys or girls, and you're all engineers, you're pretty much you have very good common sense. You don't click on bad links. You have all that in your heart. But when you get to a big, almost like a corporate company above 500 people, there's all kinds of functions in the company, and not all people are extremely technical. But the company needs to survive, and it needs all of these parts. Like you have the marketing department, the legal department, the finance, office management, everything, etc. So they're all the same people working for the same company, but so you have to educate everyone, I guess.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear, because I think that we have a full spectrum here, because Lorna started with the security in mind, but you joined somewhere maybe late or in between, and we had the same story too here at NordVPN, because I'm representing NordVPN right now. After 70 or 80 guys or girls that started working, then we started to think about security more and raise awareness and so on. So I want to back to Lorna and to ask you where the initiative was from the executive level.
We're still fairly small company, so we have about 50 people now, so it's still quite manageable. But I agree, as you grow, as we get larger, which it will be soon, it's going to get harder and harder to make sure that everybody has that mindset. But it really comes from what we do, and the process of how we're going to produce our product is secretive, right? So it's got to stay secure. So that I think that's But really where it started from
Yeah.
is that it's the data. We have to maintain the data.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a little bit about the trainings. I know that we're going to talk about it too, but I want to speak a little bit about the steps and to ask you guys what steps have you taken to integrate the security in your company's DNA, and what steps you think are the most important, to be honest.
I think at this point for us, it's very important that each person in the company reaches the minimum level at least of security awareness, and this is where we have the majority of the trainings oriented to make sure that everyone is at least at the minimum required level, so we are a safe company. And then it goes deeper for some of the guys if they are touching very sensitive data, if they are developers, engineers, and they have all this access to different systems, then it goes a bit deeper for individual groups. But what we have done is basically very recently we've launched an onboarding security training. So you get some of the guys from the security team and from the risk team, they shot videos, they made small questionnaires,
Nice.
and we have this internal training for the guys. And we're running it through the KnowBe4 platform. So we have understanding who finishes it, how much is done, who's struggling with it. So I think that was like the major thing, to make sure that everyone is on some minimum basic level. And then we have some proactive measures which are very fun. So we do send phishing emails.
Oh yes, these are fun. These are fun.
I have a great time with that.
So we do it very randomly, so the people don't get caught up on the frequencies. Like, oh, it's a Friday, it's gonna be a phishing email. So it's like, it's gonna be silent, and you're gonna boom, and our guys in sec team are very, very fond of finding ingenious ways of, you would never think that it's something scammy, and we're looking how many clicks we get, how many people actually enter the data. So recently we've like almost zeroed that, so it's very good.
Nice.
And yeah, these are like some of the fun measures that we do. And if we go deeper, as I said, we have some more technical things and more technical training for the actual engineers, because they already have some basic training, and because they're engineers and they understand systems in a different way. So for them, it's more about access management, revoking and in identifying credentials at a certain time, making sure they're rotated and stuff like that.
Okay, that's really cool to hear, because we more or less do the same, especially with phishing emails. We have really interesting stories about the vault coupons and so on. A lot of clicks were made with that, and people a little bit were angry at the end. And we started even to implement the success rate within our OKRs too. How many percent we want to reach, and basically to train that people that way too. Yeah.
I wanted to say that it's fun for me to watch it, because we always had the KPI to reduce the rate.
Yeah.
But I see it's a little bit discouraging. It's unmotivating for the security team. So I was even thinking maybe try to increase the click rate. Like the security team should try to make even more ingenious phishing mails to increase it, because now there's almost zero. Look, you don't have, it's like the potential is zero. Like you don't have to, you just need to keep it at that level. So like you think, just make sure to send out someone, if you find anyone that clicks it, you're gonna win. Like, but obviously, in reality, you want to minimize it, obviously, but just for fun, for yourselves, to make sure that you're motivated with your work, just like that.
Lorna, what about your guys? Do you have trainings, internal, external? How you're doing with that?
Yeah, so it's to us, it's just kind of an ongoing awareness, and anything that we implement into the company, any new software, we do an evaluation of it, of how is it going to be deployed in the system, where are the security risk points of that one, and then always continually updating all our users. But we do a lot of the we're starting to do a lot of the phishing emails, and I have a lot of fun with them, but you know, and it's great information to get back to people. So as soon as we've done one, and I actually, after it's done, I send it out and I say, these are all the problems that were with that email. These are things you have to look for. But it's an ongoing process to just make sure that the users are up to date. And we need to find applications that will help us do keep our data secure, but also is functional for the users, right? So not bringing something in that's going to be so complex or so rigid that they can't do their work. So we're looking at that all the time. So something that's functional, easy to use, but yet will help us keep things secure.
Yeah.
Jumping more into the technical, guys, I would really like to hear your experience too with that, because we started to do internal trainings like OS Top 10, of course, these kind of vulnerabilities that are really known, I would say. And then we jumped into languages details, for example, like C# security trainings and other languages training and so on. And I see a lot of good feedback about that too from our guys. And we started even to record that, because you doing live takes time for the security guys. Would really like to hear your experience. How do you manage that, for example?
Yeah, so I can maybe start on that. So what we do with the security team is, well, we encourage, and all of the members are OSCP certified. So I think that's a very good base for the SEC team to be, you know, on a certain level. As for engineers, we mostly develop on just a few languages, because since we don't have, like, you know, Android applications or any iPhone applications or anything like that, we basically develop everything for the web. So it's mostly web oriented. So the other security team and the other guys just use more of the tooling. So, you know, like Nessus scans and like that. So just we identify the vulnerabilities, and then it goes back in the cycle to the developers. Because the fix is almost obvious all the time, it's not going to be extremely difficult to fix. It's more about identifying, you know, a bad API call. You can pass through some additional data or stuff like that. You just have to, you know, make sure the code is clean. And we also do some regular scans of all the code base to make sure, you know, that we don't have some old packages, dependencies, and stuff like that, to make sure they're removed from the stack, as well as, you know, other ways to identify our own code weaknesses and make sure that we don't leave anything like that. Because, you know, you get certain vulnerabilities even in the language itself at certain times. So, you know, especially with the, you know, PHP stack, and you have to update the PHP itself and make sure that you don't use vulnerable functions and stuff like that. So, so our developers are, you know, the ones that develop with PHP, and this is the main development that's going on with it at Hostinger is PHP, with you know, the application, our own panel, APIs. It's all on PHP. So you know, developers have to be security aware, and we orient people to learn, you know, what are the ways to, you know, exploit a web server, exploit PHP as a language, exploit, you know, Apache, Nginx, you know, MySQL database, which is the backend, and it's not much of a stack, but you have to go very deep inside it. So, and for infrastructure, yeah, we do have infrastructure is more based on well, it runs several things, but I would say we have Ruby, we have Python, which some scripts are based on Ruby, because, you know, automation is based on Chef. Then we have some servers automated with Ansible for another project. So you're more on it, like you're leaning towards Python, and you know, DevOps guys they love their own language mostly, and they don't want to change. The only thing that you can maybe suggest is Go. Like anything else is a no. Like so I would say they know their own language, and they're all, you know, yeah, if you want to do something, it's either my own or I'm going to use Go. And it's like, okay.
Okay,
so yeah.
Lorna, what about your guys developing the products? How you train them, and what steps do you do for that?
So we're not a software development company.
Okay.
So we don't have to go through those kind of rigid steps, but we do bring in certain software. So we're not going to develop anything. There's usually always an application out there that's going to help us do what we need to do. That's already a commercial product. But bringing anything in, we have to look at how are we going to deploy it in the company. We have to look at the security risks of that, and at the user level as well. How is the user going to connect to it? What any kind of security things of entering through that software. So it's really awareness at the user level. How are they going to use it, and just making sure that that data is secure.
Yeah,
that's a really challenging task, to be honest, because you're using the software that you're not developing, and you kind of are you responsible for that software in the end?
Right. So that's what my team does. Is
Yeah.
we look at I'll get a request from somewhere in engineering saying, hey, we need a software to do this, and they may already have one in mind because we've been using a lot of the same software in our industry for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will look at it. If it's one we already know, we'll figure out how we're going to deploy it. Again, we're trying to stay cloud-based. We have no servers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at, okay, how is that company that we purchased it from, what are they doing to maintain security from their end? But then what do we need to add on top of it in our environment to keep it secure for us?
So it's more of a risk management, right? Job done from the really, okay. Really nice to have different approaches to that, and really interesting to hear. Okay, guys, before jumping into the second section of the discussion, I want to remind all of you guys that are listening that you can ask questions. We're gonna have like 15-20 minutes to answer them at the end. You can do it in our Q&A box. Don't forget to use it. And the second big group that I want to discuss with you guys about the COVID-19 situation, and to basically hear your opinion. Has the perspective of the importance of the security changed, and how do you see if it's changed, how? To know your opinion. Lorna, can you maybe elaborate on that first?
Yeah, so when I started here, I had in mind that we would be able to work remotely to begin with, because we live in an area that's prone to have hurricanes, and Houston, and the last one that really did a lot of damage was Harvey, and so that was in my mind, is it's going to happen again. It's inevitable. It's going to happen again. So how do we deploy everything in our company so that people can work remotely and not miss anything? So I didn't think we'd get a pandemic, but we didn't skip a beat. Everybody worked from home. Everybody had their home equipment. We had already been looking at security from working remotely, so it really didn't stop us at all.
Okay, so it was an easy shift for you guys, right? Because it's really a success story to hear from you, because we started with the security in mind. You started with thinking about going, from different places. Wow, that's really nice. Oh, okay. Well, what about you?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we are, when we went out to be remote when the COVID struck, we were about, I think, 700 people. And half of us we're already remote, because we have 3 different offices: Brazil, Lithuania, and Indonesia. And then we have so many remote people working from home. So we already had some measures and ways of how we can work from home. It wasn't, that we have to change everything. I think what really was something that we had to work with. Not everyone had their own computer, because support staff works with workstations at the office, and then we needed to quickly get them ways to work. some guys started working with their own computer, and it's like, no, don't.
Yeah.
So we have quickly get them a laptop and make sure everyone is working on like a certain environment. So we've also deployed MDM solutions to make sure, you know, all the laptops and computers are managed. So I think that was like the biggest like thing that we had to implement very quickly when COVID struck. Make sure that everyone's laptop is safe and they can ensure they can, you know, remotely log in, and we know if something happens, we can, you know, quickly turn off that computer, make sure the perimeter is safe. Then as a second thing, I think just organizing work, making sure that, you know, how you share documents, you know, meeting links and everything, because there's so many people, and you know, that's where we did some phishing campaigns. You send out the link to the document, you know, some external email requests a link to the document which is not in your organization, and there, you know, everyone was requesting something somewhere. So I think that was, you know, the visibility question was very important for everyone to understand, okay, you are remote, and you know, whatever you see on your screen is, you know, the conversation. It's not, you know, I'm going to talk to you in the office and we're going to just leave it at that. So I think the risk was, you know, increasing as more conversations were moving into the digital area, and make sure, you know, you don't share passwords, you don't share any sensitive information of the customers, you know, and stuff in Slack or in any unsafe areas, you know. So so I think that was like the second biggest thing that we needed to educate people on. But everything else, I think we were half remote anyway, so it wasn't very extremely difficult. So it took us like about 2 weeks to get everything done, and you know, to make sure, okay, we are okay, we can do this.
That's really interesting to hear from you guys, because you kind of were prepared for that, because we like offices, to be honest, and that's a different story for us. And the perspective and the importance for the security, it changed, and we started to think about how we're going to manage that, how we're going to manage access to the certain systems, or even to applications. Because yes, you have to install the MDM. Yes, you have to ensure that you can control and encrypt the hardware, to update the software, and so on. But it was quite a change for us. Yes, we do it, we have it. The security practices are there. And we kind of ready too now to go and to embrace the hybrid model. I think it's gonna stay here, especially with the COVID-19, and when we are expanding our offices too throughout Europe right now. I think it's a good way to think to other companies too, is just to be prepared and to take the necessary steps in advance if you are thinking about it. I want to talk about the threats a little bit. Do you see any threats, and if just to raise awareness about that, what threats companies should expect while working in hybrid model, and how you preventing maybe this risk? Maybe you have the knowledge in that area. Lorna, maybe can you share your opinion?
Yeah, so again, it's really at the user level. So, and we have employees that travel quite a bit. So just making sure that, you know, they're not connecting to an unsecured network, making sure they're using the applications that we've given them for security, whether it's, you know, a virus scanner or a VPN connection, something, but making sure that they're always using that. And then just keeping aware of what could be out there. You know, some of the recent cyber attacks that have been well publicized were a little too close to home for us, so that made us step up a little bit more and do more awareness and more training, so that because to me, that's where it's going to happen. If we do get any kind of attack, it'll be from the user level.
Yeah.
You are speaking about the supply chain attacks, right?
Yeah, like the Colonial Pipeline.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So basically it stepped up your cybersecurity level in a way, and risk management there too.
Yes.
Okay, really interesting to hear. Okay, any tips from you, Valis?
Yeah, so I think what we really started thinking more about was disaster recovery in case something happens. So for us, we were like working. Okay, so we have backups, everything's fine. But then you start thinking of when you get a big event like COVID and the whole world is starting to change, like the disaster, like the actual word disaster is kind of making other senses. It's like, okay, then you get a data center on fire in France,
Yeah.
the OVH. And it's like, okay, so what happens if our data center gets on fire and then it just burns down and you just can watch the lithium batteries burn? So you're like, okay, so we need to make sure that disaster recovery is the actual disaster recovery. So I think that was like one of the major things that we kind of raised the question with the engineers and with everyone. So, what happens if we need to, if we need to change data center very, very quickly? What happens if, half of the people can't connect to the internet? What happens if all of these questions, and we were starting to prepare for that. So I think that's, COVID just gave us like a good boost to make sure that, the security risk is not just about we accidentally deleted a folder and we have backups so we can recover it and that's fine and we're all good. But then, at a little bit deeper level and to understand that the world is very, very dynamic. You have to be prepared to not lose
Yeah.
everything one day. So
Yeah, and I agree with that. So we did the same thing, is to look at what could we do for, let's say it was taken hostage, right? All our data is there. We need to get it back. So yeah, so we've also implemented other third-party backups and making sure it's replicated in different regions. So if you did a disaster, so yeah, I agree with that too.
I can assure that we had one data center flooded like 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was a really funny story. It didn't hit us like really unexpected because our service model, because VPN servers are basically all around the world. So if one country goes down, the users basically do not notice a lot of them. But to see in the monitoring system that like hundreds of servers going down and asking guys what is going on in there. Oh, well, it's just flooded. So the data center hall just went down and okay, good luck with that. But I agree with you that the risk management is an important part, and especially from the higher level, thinking about the global situation, what is going on, how the data is flowing, and to having the backups, not only backups as a physical backups, but regional backups, and changing the data between them, to have the ability to change the data and to switch to another pipeline is really, really important. Really cool to hear that you're doing that too. Awesome. Let's jump to my favorite topic, the technical side, and secure software development lifecycle. If you have it, please share your opinion, how you implemented it, what tools are you using, and what would you, I don't know, suggest for the people if they are only starting at it. And it's a broad topic, I know. I want to know about the tech stack, then I maybe want to know about the teams that you're using, how you're implementing it. Yeah. So Lorna, I know that you're not developing software, so I don't think that this question is for you now. So then maybe Belize.
So as I mentioned, we are kind of a hybrid company actually, in terms of we're not only a software development company, because we develop some parts of our software, like we develop our own panel, like a cPanel product. We have our own infrastructure for web hosting, but then we use integrations as well. Like we do provide products through integrations, like we resell Titan email or cPanel hosting, and because of that, so we use their APIs as well. So I think what we do, and as I said, we didn't start out like as a security first culture. So we do have technical depth that we need to work with. So we had a big monolith at first, which was communicating with everything. It was responsible for any part and every part of our own business, like, issuing invoices and controlling web hosting. And now we've separated it. So I think, just isolating resources from one another was a very important security initiative that we did. Then we made sure that certain parts of data are isolated from each other. So you isolate customer CRM data from their own data, so you never interact. So you isolate your own finance data from any data that's in sync or goes over the air at any point. So I think just these initiatives, the architecture initiatives, were very important for us. And we're still working on that. We have certain APIs that we're rewriting today, and we're making microservices that just work on a very small part of the business. And in case something happens to that small microservice, we are sure of the scope, like it never got out of here, and we know here. And I'm sure there are lots of tools. I can go through those as well, but what I wanted to say, like, we had in the life of a hostinger, we had 2 incidents.
Okay.
We had one
the interesting part.
Yeah. So one incident was our free web hosting platform was hacked, and I'm sure you can go into like, have I been pwned, and search for email and see like if it was listed on 000webhost.com. And that was like the moment that we understood that we need to take care of our security. And that's when we understood we need to isolate things. We need to isolate code, and we need to make sure that people which work on one code don't work on all of the code at the same time. So in case they make a mistake, it doesn't waterfall to everything. So yeah, but we survived that. We survived the whole area. We wrote a lot of code and everything, and we do QA checks. We have certain tools that automatically mark code as invalid, or making sure that security practices are followed. We do manual checks from the security team for very important parts of the code. So they review pull requests and make sure that it's not damaging anything. We do all of the PRs are manual in engineering, are manually reviewed, so you can't merge anything without a review. So I think that was like the just attention from multiple people to a certain area gives a very, very good security upgrade, because you can have million tools reporting a million warnings or issues, but if no one really cares, like, it's not gonna do anything. It's just like, oh, we have the necessary report with 1,000 warnings. Okay, which one?
That's true.
What do you want me to do? Like, so but if you have a principal engineer approaching you and saying, you know what, this is shit, you have to rewrite this, I'm not going to allow you to merge it, and you have to rewrite this. So he goes back and rewrites it. Okay, now it's fine. So I think that's like just having qualified people and making sure that the code gets better over time and not worse really helped us. The second incident was basically a perimeter breach, and we just understood that there was a breach. We don't have any data that anything was leaked or anything, but we just basically approached it with whatever we needed to do by GDPR laws and all of the laws. So we informed everyone, informed all the users. They made all of the public announcement, everything, just to make sure that we're completely, absolutely clear about what happened, and make sure it doesn't really catch to us later, like when you just try to hide it under the rug, and 2 years later you get a dump, and it's like, oh my god. So we probably won't get any dumps, but it's just we really wanted to make sure that we announced it. We understood that we care, and it can happen to anyone, but you have to improve over time. And that's like basically whatever you secure cycle you choose, make sure that your software is improving and not deteriorating over time. And whether it's automated scan, whether it's just very qualified people reviewing your code, whether it's user testing, and of course, and if I should mention the tools, very, very helpful tool. If it's a tool, it's more like a SaaS. We use HackerOne. So we're very, very attentive to any reports. We pay out all the bounties. We have an SLO on payouts and SLO on reply time. So we never reply later than 3 hours. Payouts are like 1 week mostly, like not mostly. That's the maximum that you should wait for a payout if you reported an issue. So we're very, very attentive to that. And I think it's a great platform. I think it's great for reporting bugs. Make sure that you're compatible with the messages. So, you know, when you have a domain, make sure you have the security TXT file and all of that. Make sure people know where to report, and they can try to hack you and inform you, and you can fix it. So I think it's a very, very good initiative to have things like that. And then we do something like that internally with our own devs. So, you know, our security team always do the red team, blue team things. So the one guys are always trying to find ways how to find vulnerabilities. Since they have the ability to see the code in GitHub, it's very easy for them to understand, you know, the mechanics of the request. So it's easier to construct something and with a burp suite or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you find, you know, I guess more vulnerabilities than you can do externally when you just have to guess everything, like how it does work.
Yes,
how
like a
where
black box experience, right?
Yeah. So I think like these two things, well, not two, but these last two things, like, you know, HackerOne and internal scans, very good experience for us. Since, as I said, we never started as like, okay, we are this, you know, security wise, like Larna said, you know, you have things on your table and you start architect the perfect picture. For us, it's more like we have this running car that runs on 120, and then we need to change the engine a little bit. So you're the driver, you drive with your foot, you know, take out the engine, you put in another one, and it's a bit better. So you get back and okay, we're fine. So it's a lot of times like that. So you don't want to obstruct anyone. You don't want to change something for users so they don't, you know, leave because of it. You know, you want to make sure it's safer. So, you know, we're working with, as I said, with a running car, but it's fun. And yeah, you have to use a lot of tools, not just proactive tools, but, you know, reactive tools as well.
I can add on HackerOne too. It was a really good experience for us, to be honest, to launch the bug bounty program in there. And at first we didn't had a lot of attention, but then we did a little boost with the help with them, of course, like launched several campaigns and found really interesting bugs in our apps, and we're really happy. And I would like to thank you for all the participants in that and sharing their knowledge and hacking us from the black box environment. And yes, but speaking about the secure software development life cycle, I would like to mention, and maybe like a tip for everyone who is listening, that is really important to integrate your security guys as soon as possible into software development cycle, because usually you have the requirements phase, design phase, development phase, testing phase, and deployment phase, you know. So within the requirements, when you start doing new feature or designing, you really can do the risk assessment and threat modeling and the design review. And usually what I noticed and how it's changed within the security guys within the teams, when they were separate teams, not integrated into the development teams, they were kind of off a little bit with the communication and so on. When I started to put our security guys in their daily stand-ups and to be exactly where the development is happening, I started to notice really better outcomes from them, and they were really more happy to be there and to see and to get their hands dirty as soon as possible. So I think that was a really good move from us. Lorna, but I would like to hear about the tooling from you too, because we talked here a lot.
So even though we're not a software development company, and this life cycle still kind of applies to us, just by evaluating the applications we would bring in, is it the right one for the task? How will it be implemented in the company, and how will the user use it? So it's kind of the same thing, and we still have to, even after we've deployed one and we said, okay, this is all secure and it's set up and they're using that application, we still have to go back and maintain it, make sure that, you know, if there's any new patches or new upgrades to that software, how does that affect the rest of the environment. And so it's really kind of an ongoing thing as well. So I kind of see that as our life cycle instead of the software development part.
Okay, so 15 minutes left. We have a lot of questions, but before that, I want to ask you guys. I'm aware that both of you use NordPass Business as your password manager solution for a company. So why did you choose NordPass, and how does it assist in having security first culture?
So we use NordPass, I think, for more than half of our people now. So basically what happened, we use different password managers, and a lot of times we ended up with this clash, that some guys use one product, some guys the other product, and then they don't sync up. They need to share a password, but they don't have a common wallet. And then they, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna phone you and tell you. It's like, no. So, all these different areas. So you have to, I guess, just a common tool, it really, really helps. And we've implemented NordPass with our support staff. So I think it's a great tool. It works great for us. At the moment, we still use 1Password as well, but we're slowly migrating to NordPass. So, for us, what we want is the simplicity and just the ability to, to make sure that there's a safe area for everyone to have credentials to rotate them and for everything like that. So yeah, it's a great tool, and we plan to use it more.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're using it. It's our company standard, and our user base is challenging. So we have some we have some that are very good at anything on a computer. We have some that are not. So NordPass to me was simple. It was easy to deploy. It was easy for the users. But I agree. I think it's a great tool. So get rid of their little notebook that they write everything.
Okay, I'm gonna tell the guys to do that. Let's jump into the questions, because we have some, and I would really like to address them. So trainings and education is pretty strong method to ensure that team members are aware of the security dangers, but sometimes there are bad actors inside the company. And that's true. What could be done with those? Are there methods or technology to ensure that bad actors from the inside are unable to cause the damage? That's a really interesting question, and a good question, I guess.
Cool.
Who wants to start with that?
I can start. Yeah, I can basically start. So obviously, I think there's always a certain area of trust that when you bring in new people, and when you hire him and you just say you're part of us. So there's this trust that happens at that point. But if you look at from the other perspective, that you have less trust, like the more security, the less trust. So what we do is we just have certain areas of code and certain areas of systems isolated from each other. So let's say you want to use engineering, engineering credentials. So you use we use HashiCorp Vault. So you have to get access to the vault, right? And then if you have access to the vault, you pass a certain trust level that you are now trusted with the vault. So and when you have access to that, you can authorize to certain systems. You have your SSH key. That SSH key is not going to be it's not going to be inserted to all of the systems, just because you uploaded it to GitHub repository. So you get into a certain group, you get in certain perimeter. After a while, if you're okay, you're getting a certain perimeter. If we're talking about certain things, what can a bad actor do? So I think it's very easy to get away by doing something once, but if you try to do something again, you're probably gonna get caught. So observability is very, very important. So just make sure that there's a transparency, that if a person tries to do something, he will be noticed. Like if he goes on a server and deletes things, you know, he authorized with his own SSH key, we will know that that was him, like, or his key was leaked. So at least we have this information. If you have all the logs and everything, so you know, you can approach the person and say, what's going on? Why are you doing this? So these are the two areas of I would say trust trust is there because you're part of the company, but at the same time, visibility is there if we need to check you, but we trust that you're not going to do it. So that for the person who is working with the systems is also very clear that, you know, he has access here, he's trusted with the, you know, with that he's not going to do anything, but he just, if he randomly, you know, starts doing bad things, yeah, we will notice it. Yeah.
Okay, Lorna, what are your thoughts about this too?
Yeah, so we kind of have the same thing with the visibility. So we know when things like you said, get deleted, we're completely notified. We actually had an incident not too long ago. It wasn't a bad actor, but it was really on a mistake that over 1,000 documents were deleted.
Okay.
So we have the backups to recover all of that, but yeah, we were notified immediately so that it wasn't 3,000 documents that were that were deleted. But it's an interesting question too that will make me think about it a little bit more. I haven't really been that concerned here in this company because we all are working toward this goal together to make the product that we're in business for, and we're all invested in it. So if we have a bad actor from somebody that's already invested in the company, then they're just messing with themselves. So I haven't really thought too much about bad actors in the company, but that I will look at that more.
That's a really interesting approach from the security and risk perspective too, because if you own the company, you don't want to damage it, you want them to grow. So maybe that's the solution for it too. It could be the solution, I guess. Yeah. But I agree with you guys. I think the visibility and the trust are really important points here. Not only to giving the trust to certain areas, but having, as well, you mentioned, the HashiCorp Vault, you know, all the logs in there, who, what kind of token uses and where, and at what time, and basically giving the knowledge to the users of the world that, you know, and other guys are tracking and basically seeing what you are doing is really important. But it's really interesting question, and I will have to think about it too more, I guess, and to think maybe a more scenarios or tabletop exercises about it too, what could happen. Jumping into the next one, Ignas asks, during new feature development process, how and when security power is evaluated at the hostinger? Is that done by security team or the same engineering team? So, Belize, this one is for you.
So it depends on the feature, I guess. But we do have, because we don't only have engineers developing infrastructure, then we have developers and, you know, creating parts of the product. So certain parts of the product, especially those are user facing, they get reviewed by the security team. If it's more about infrastructure, we usually have, you know, the lead engineer or the principal engineer that is kind of covering that. And as I said, all the pull requests have to be reviewed. So there is a certain, you know, firewall, as I said, for bad things not to get into the code. And since we run everything as code, like you immediately see the, you know, if you deploy it and there's something wrong, you will notice it. So I think it's kind of both ways. But if we need the security team, it's like for us, the attention from security team is very expensive. So we try to just put it in the area where it's mostly needed. So so we try to educate the engineers as well to make sure that they are aware of what they need to do to make sure that their code or whatever they're deploying is secure.
Okay, and that really makes sense. Yeah. And about development, the second one, how you keep engineer knives sharp on security topics. continuous periodic trainings or rely on their own learning pace? You mentioned that you have the platform and how you do it.
So in terms of just speaking about engineers, so we not only about security topics, we try to encourage people to take different courses on certain infrastructure. For example, well, we're deploying our private cloud on OpenStack. So where it's not about just security as a whole. You have to really understand the big picture and the gritty details about how the thing works. And then when you do, you will understand the vulnerabilities and where how it can be exploited. So I think learning about the actual infrastructure is very important for the engineers. And then the training as OSCP certificate is, I think, that gives you so much awareness of how what tooling and how we can exploit things. So we encourage that as well. So as I said, the ones that work directly with security, they have it. The ones that want to go through the training or get certified, they we will cover it, and we as a company we really encourage it.
Okay, and a little bit technical one. Maybe you have the experience. Have any of you put the value on the new security solutions around EDR and XDR? I would like to remind you that EDR is endpoint detection and response if you are using it, and XDR is extended detection and response. So maybe you have the experience with that. Lorna, maybe you?
I actually don't have experience with that, so
okay. It's fine.
Cool.
Okay.
I can maybe add a little bit. I'm not sure I'm calling it like that way. I'm aware of the terms. So we do monitor the logs from all the servers. So we use like Wazoo SIEM system. So I think that helps us to understand what's going on in each of the servers. And if we need to detect anything, we usually have very quick information from the logs. So we do that. It's about our systems and our customer servers and things that are deployed on Kubernetes engine. So we do check the logs. We make sure that the logs are sent. So I think that's one of the ways that we do. And then we also use, I should mention, we use Cloudflare as well. As basically, we do have certain additional services from Cloudflare, like we use the DNS firewall from them, which is like a very hidden product that they sell. Then we have enterprise packages with them, and it helps us to identify as well, like bot attacks, understand when we need to put captchas here and there, disallow traffic from certain parts of areas. So for network protection, we use Cloudflare as this system to basically detect very quickly and to make sure that we can handle it.
Yeah, I can have a light on that. Basically, speaking about the new solutions, especially in the hybrid models, the ZTNA is really coming and gonna be the hard and really shiny topic for 5 and 10 years. I can imagine. Internally, we are working and developing some tools with that too. I hope we're gonna present the new features in autumn. I really hope that's gonna happen with NordVPN. So, but in terms of services, yeah, you can use Wazoo. It's open source. It's a really great tool to have all the logs and basically to have the detection and to have the knowledge what is going on in your environment. And for the laptops, there are a lot of solutions. We are trying them, most of them. But ZTNA, I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how the market will boom. Okay, so that's it from the question side, and looks like we have 1 minute left. So I would like to thank everyone for joining, and special thank you goes to Lorna and Walis for having a great discussion today.
Thanks,
I learned
everyone.
a lot, yeah, and it's really nice to hear from you guys. I hope it's not the last time that we're gonna do it. Cool. And I would like all to remind that the webinar is hosted by NordPass, and as a guest, I mentioned you can get an exclusive deal when purchasing the NordPass Business. Just simply quote security first, As you can see it in my wallpaper, and you're gonna get plan personal premium for free for all your team members. Thank you all. Thank you guys for a great talk, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everyone. Bye. Thanks again.